Good morning, everyone. I say morning, not 9:15 p.m. like I set the YouTube video to be scheduled for by accident. If you have made it on time and you're live and you worked out that I'm an idiot, then welcome. If you're watching this at 9:15 p.m, then yeah, sorry, you missed the live show. But yeah, I'm back. I said a while ago that when I clawed my way back into the top million, I would be back for the team selection videos. It's not really how I want to kind of be with FPL, especially with like FPL like content. Like I've had some rough seasons, over the years. I've struggled a bit with ranks and with things like that, but I've always kind of pushed through with making content, because I know there's people watching who probably don't have great ranks, having rough seasons. Not everyone wants to watch people, top 10k every year, although you do probably want some decent advice. But this season, I don't know, I've struggled a bit more than normal this season. I haven't tied my happiness, as it will, into FPL, as much as I maybe did sort of 10 years ago or something, when I was really kind of into it and trying to, break into the content creation scene and all that. But I don't know, there's been weeks where I just feel like everything I'm doing is kind of, gone wrong. I've put in lots of effort and it's not paid off. I'm making stuff, I'm getting people kind of, rightly questioning kind of, my kind of advice that I'm giving and things. And it's kind of made me question myself a little bit more than normal. So I thought maybe stepping away from it a bit, rather than kind of burning myself out with it, carry on with BlackBox and doing the other bits I do for Scout and for the Premier League and stuff, and just bin this one off, because this one's a bit more kind of a self-indulgent, let's be honest, kind of stream as well. But it's a shame, because I really like the crowd that turns up on the on the Thursday mornings when I've been doing these. So it was kind of weighing it up, but I think it was right to kind of step back and selfishly, now I'm back on the kind of realms of having a respectable-ish season. We can kind of kick on from there. So apologies if you've kind of missed these videos, and yeah, hopefully that kind of explains it, kind of why. I mean, already some comments kind of in the chat. Accidental bench boost probably didn't help. Yeah, it's just things like that. It was the 11-point game week, the accidental bench boost, selling Watkins before that double when he was supposed to be injured. I don't know, just missing out on hauls from like Palmer and missing out on Trippier. And I don't know, I've always felt like I'm just kind of quite there. I'm there, but not quite there this season. It's been a bit annoying. Anyway, I'm back, and hopefully you've all been enjoying about BlackBox, and yeah, it's been really good to carry on doing that with Mark and everything. Good to have him back as well, hopefully until kind of the end of the season. A few messages in the chat. Hi to Mo. Tom, how do I sign up as a member? If you have a look in the YouTube description, you should be able to see the link for channel memberships with the free tiers. The apprentice tier, which is kind of just purely to support the stream. You get some emojis and stuff. The black box tier, which is a bit more. That gets you into like the Discord channel. And then there's the Godfather tier, which is the main one, which gets you the Godfather tier, entry into all the leagues and prizes and meets up, and sort of there's a waiting list for the WhatsApp chat and all that kind of stuff. But really, they're all there if anyone does want to support the channel. So really appreciate anyone who signs up to those. BB Defender, glad to see you back doing these. Good to be back. BB, is that Black Box Defender? I hope so. Always enjoyed them as well. Thank you very much. Jason Talon, don't be hard on yourself, mate. You have great content. You need to have a great rank to give sound advice and info. No, I never. Well, I mean, I kind of maybe doubted myself a little bit kind of this season. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I don't think, YouTube and podcasts should be saturated with people with only good ranks. I think it's good to have a spread of people who are in different positions. So we're going to take a bit of a look through my season, see where things kind of went wrong and where things kind of turned around a little bit. Kind of as we go. BB Defender, hi fellow people without a job in the chat. I've got a job, but they've got quite flexible working hours. They let you start at 10, sometimes, as long as you kind of work those hours back, which really helps with doing stuff like this. So that's really good. We'll take some questions kind of as we go. Let's start with kind of this season so far, really. So I think I stopped doing these around game week 12, which was when I was 2.4 million. Actually, it's quite small. Let's zoom in on that. Around 2.4 million in the world. Something, let's just make this a bit bigger. Can you see that? It's still quite small, but anyway. Yeah, about 2.4 million in the world. I'd actually had a decent game week rank at that stage, kind of a 308,000 rank. Maybe thought my season was going to start off. This was the bench boost week, so yeah. So this was coming off the 11 points in game week 11. What are the odds of that? Which, you know, is the worst game week I think probably anyone's ever had with a Dogi. Look at that. You look back at it, it's just absolutely crazy. And then Archer and Kabore on the bench just to kind of cap it off. We then went straight into that with the bench boost week, which ended up okay thanks to Simicast's 15. So 18 points on that, but the rest of the team kind of. I mean, it was an okay week. I mean, look at that defence. I mean, Diaby got something. Adingra scored. I remember when that happened. I was pretty happy. Captain Watkins over Haaland. I mean, that was a disaster as well. So yeah, the game week rank was all right. It could have been a lot better. And I think the captains have really been a problem for me. I remember when I did a black box with Mark around game week 20 or something. We had a look at captains, and I had by far the lowest captain score from the great and the good, which is kind of the yardstick I use to kind of judge myself against other people that I know kind of on Twitter. So yeah, captains have been a problem. Things like going for Watkins against Haaland, other kind of decisions where I've backed against popular picks just haven't really worked out, and that's been the issue. So that's when I kind of stopped doing these. I'm kind of glad I did, because I just couldn't really get a steer on the season. I mean, from game week 13 to game week 19, I was in and around 2 million, having fallen to 3 million in game week 15 after a 29 point game week where just no one did anything. And players like Gordon haven't really performed for me when they've done so well for other people. I got Mbumo too late after all the hauls that he got. Livramento was predictably a complete disaster as well. Players like Gay, who you bring in for kind of steady clean sheets, didn't really kind of get anything. So it's very much a woe is me, type kind of 7 or 8 weeks over this period. Darwin came in for Watkins, and we all know kind of what happened with that. So really kind of struggled kind of over that over that period. But I'd say kind of over the next sort of 6-7 weeks, things started to get a little bit better. So from around the 2.4 mark, I went down to a high of 1.2 in game week 21. But I'd actually put together 3 game week ranks in the top million. So someone asked me once, if you got a game week rank in the top million every week, where would you expect to finish? And I'm tempted to say you'd win it. I think a steady, game week rank consistently in the top million over 38 weeks would surely put you right up in the top echelons of the game. It's just the wild swings that I've had this season. You can see here. I mean, game week 11 was obviously the worst. Some of a 10 million, a 10.1 million game week rank. Amazing, there was 500,000 people less than me, but they were probably playing like anti-FPL. A 300k, then a 6 million, then a 3 million, then an 8 million. There hasn't really been any consistency to my season kind of this far. So when you look at that period of game week 17 to 21, there was a 7 million in there, but then there was 3 kind of within the top kind of 500k ish, and that kind of got me up at the kind of the million places that I needed to get to. It was a rough game in 22. Again, Foden captain, that didn't really work out for people. Haaland was out. None of the other players really. I mean, look at the defence as well. This has been a real key thing, I think, with a lot of people's seasons. It's just not getting those regular returns from goalkeepers that we've seen, from defenders as well. Porro was a big disappointment. The Stupiman's been disappointing as well. But then the last few weeks have been obviously a lot better. Broke into the top million in game week 23 when I was on holiday, I think. So I missed that week and the week after, and then this week as well, a small green to go into my best game week of my best overall rank of the season, 570k. So what's been the difference other than just getting points, get a better rank? I think getting the captaincy right has been key. I mean, you look at game week 23, that's when I went for Watkins captain. That was finally kind of a good decision. Had a good week that week, even with benching kind of Garnacho as well. I also did Trent to Trippier, which wasn't a move which I think was massively favoured by kind of models, and didn't really hear anyone talking about it. But moving Trent to Trippier, okay, I got a bit lucky with Trent's injury, I think, going into the double, but Trippier came straight in with I think 2 assists and a goal over 2 weeks I had him, so that massively helped. 2, Pedro was a decent kind of differential option that week as well, and then like keeping the faith with Saka, I think that was a massively key one, and I think a lot of people's seasons have kind of gone a different way if you got fed up with Saka's kind of lowish points and thought maybe there was kind of better ways to tap in. Maybe you went for a Jota, or maybe you rolled the dice on someone else, went up to De Bruyne, something like that. If you stuck with Saka, which I did, then I think you've probably seen some decent greens as well. Same with the Arsenal defence too. So yeah, and then the obvious one there is Foden. I know people benched him. I know some people didn't have him as well. Keeping the faith really with him has been key, and again there's elements of luck in that, but I think also some decent decision making as well, which I didn't really feel was paying off in kind of the first half of the season when I was doing kind of like when I was kind of struggling towards the beginning of the season. Those decisions are looking a bit better now. And at the end of the day, as much as we don't want to say it is a lot of our kind of enjoyment of this game is based on outcomes. You could make what you think are the best decisions in the world and finish 5 million, and you're not exactly going to be happy. Whereas if you finish, in the top 100k, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. So anyway, that's kind of it. There's been a bit of luck and a bit of kind of good decision making, trusting gut with things like Trippier, trusting the stats with things like Saka. So what is the kind of main takeaway from all this? Is carry on doing your research and just know that you only need 1 or 2 game weeks to really kind of turn your season around. So hopefully that's an uplifting story for everyone as well. Super chat from Tom. Thank you very much. I think you stopped taking things so personally. BlackBox is my favourite YouTube channel on FPL for a reason. Thank you very much, Tom. You did then say, can you return my £5 super chat above having João Pedro? João Pedro was all right. He did all right for me. He got that goal. I think he could have had a few more in that. When Matoma was out and we had some players off. I mean, that was an annoying one because he got that hat-trick in the Cup against Sheffield United, and that was sandwiched in between the games that I got him in for. And he didn't do anything in the matches that I had him. So I bought him in ahead of the Wolves game. I think in between Wolves and Luton, which I thought, okay, these are 2 really good fixtures for him. That's when he scored the hat-trick against Sheffield United. And then nothing in the 0-0, nothing in the 4-0. Which that was a 4-0 to them, wasn't it? Oh god, yeah, we got battered. I remember that was an awful game. And then he came in against Palace. I think he was yellow flagged as well, so yeah, a bit lucky with that. But yeah, 8 points over the 3 weeks obviously isn't great, but at least he got something. As for taking it personally, I don't know. I feel like I don't really take things too personally. I don't think it was. There was a little bit of me kind of doubting myself a little bit, but not really based on too much on what I was seeing. I mean, negative comments used to kind of get me down quite a lot on YouTube streams and channels and things when I first started out, but now I just kind of like, nah. I don't really care. We've had so many positive messages, with Mark's Walkergate thing, with other stuff that's been going on. I get lots of lovely messages as well, so I'm much better at kind of dealing with that. When you're struggling and you see a message, sometimes it can be a bit like, oh yeah, that kind of hits. Maybe they're right, but yeah, no, I'm definitely better at it than I have been in previous seasons. But I do think that like the general toxicity of Twitter and on streams and things is growing, and it's something that needs to be addressed really. I don't know what the answer is to it, but it's potentially a problem that's going to continue to rise. I think since Elon took over Twitter, personally, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm seeing more negative messages, more angry, more aggression, more just nasty comments all round. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting kind of place to be, but not always the nicest. And sometimes you need to kind of take a step away from that as well. If you are doing stuff like this, just to make sure you don't go completely insane, basically. BB Defender had a dinger in there. Could see the few. Yeah, I had him for ages. He was a classic like eye test versus stats. His stats were awful, but every time I watched him, I was like, oh, this guy can get something. He got me 1 goal. I think he's a decent option between now and the end of the season. But yeah, I don't know how many people are going to go. There's a lot of good options around 6 million, as we kind of discussed with the watch list as well. Tim WD, captaincy is always key. It is, isn't it? Absolutely massive. I always feel like if you get a decent haul from your captain, you can, it kind of papers over the cracks of a lot of the rest of your squad. It's also just a real lottery in when you're going to get it. And, I've backed against Haaland quite a few times this season and been burnt. But also, when I backed Haaland, he hasn't gone crazy and others have done well. So again, if you're going to try and win the game and get into the top, even in the top 1,000 now, you have to bank, I think, against that captaincy and try and hit those big hauls. And you can't always do it. So, we'll carry on trying, but you've got to pick your battles, really, as well. Right. Let's take a look at the most recent game week then. I don't even need this screen for that. I can move on to this one. Here it is. So yeah, we talked about some BlackBox last night, so I won't go into too much detail on this. But yeah, decent week with the triple captain. I mean, I don't game week 10 points. What am I talking about? See, this is how long it's been since I did this stream. Gone back to game week 10. Let's change that to game week 25. There you go. So yeah, decent week. I mean, I know a lot of people had kind of worse weeks than this. I know a lot of people had better weeks than this. I mean, the top scoring week was 160 or something. But I think given that I had a green arrow with 86, shows that was in and around the kind of the average. I feel sorry for people who risked the triple captaincy trip on Darwin, for example, on De Bruyne. I even saw like one or two on Foden as well. I think they were all good picks, and when you back against someone like Haaland, two things have got to happen. One, you've got to get the returns from your players, and the second is Haaland's got to be kept quiet, ish. And I think for getting Haaland's quiet period over these two games, which I didn't foresee, I thought he had a 15-20 pointer in him. You would have hoped for more from the triple captain, and it hasn't worked out, and you've actually lost out on points at the end of the day if you went for those other options. So I think that's really kind of unfortunate. If you went for Salah, fair play. I think that was absolutely rogue, given that we knew he wouldn't start and and everything like that, but managed to outscore Haaland in that kind of one game that he played, which I didn't see. So if you were brave and went for that, then fair play. You're a braver manager than I would ever be, especially because he comes straight into the blank as well. But again, I think although you were maybe fortunate to get the point from the first game, given that Jota and Darwin both went off, you were unlucky that you didn't get to play in the second game against Luton, because I think you almost certainly would have hauled in that one. So yeah, very, very unlucky. Saka, we've mentioned, obviously happy kept him, delivered really high scores now in 3 games in a row. Season keeper. I had a brief kind of window where I was a bit worried about him, but Arsenal are really starting to click now. And if you haven't got him, I think you really need to be moving to bring him back for the run that Arsenal have got right up until the end, because I think they're going to be competing right up until the end of the season. Let's switch over to the watch list. This has been updated. It's really interesting looking back at the watch list I had on the last team selection I did, because there were some like crazy names in there that ended up just not being options at all. For anyone new to this, kind of the aim of this really is just to kind of synthesize everything that we've looked at on BlackBox and look at the players in which I have a reasonable chance of considering or buying over the coming weeks, or players that I've kind of just got my eye on. I want to see kind of how their performances translate into points to make me consider. So these are the players that I kind of like. So in defence, the ones in gold are the ones that I currently own in my own team, and also ones that I would consider if I didn't. We've got Trippier, Porro, Moreno, Doty, Reguilon, Aït-Nouri, Gabriel, Van Hecke, and Saliba. I own Trippier, Doty, and Gabriel. Out of those, these are filtered by non-penny XGI per 90. Obviously, there's other ways you can filter by these. Could be by points, could be points by 90. For defenders, could even be like clean sheets, things like that. But just as a kind of an attacking metric, I think non-penny XGI per 90 is a good one, especially with defenders as well. When we're looking at not really getting a huge amount of clean sheets at the moment, that kind of attacking sort of potential is quite key. So I'm happy to carry on with this. I mean, Porro's an interesting one. There was a kind of an Instagram message or a tweet from him yesterday saying he's don't sell him in your FPL teams or something like that. Whether we can start relying on players to tell us about their injuries, I'm not too sure on. But He's probably a hold if you've got him, given they've got that game in 29 as well. Very disappointing, for me, given the way his price rise right up from 5 million up to 5.7. I don't think he's really delivered on that promise at all. I don't think he's had a double-digit haul. Certainly not in the time I owned him since kind of around Christmas. And if you look at the attacking stats over the last 6, they're actually dipping as well. But Spurs are a very good side, and he's still getting forward. So I think there's still a higher chance of return. I just wanted to see a bit more regular attacking returns from him, given the lack of clean sheets. Moreno's a really interesting one as well. Obviously got the game in 29 as well. Played the last 6, which is surprising. I think, given he had that kind of injury, missed a lot of the season, how well Dean's been playing. But I guess there's other injuries in the side, and I think Emery just really likes him and values kind of the contribution he has down the left. So I think he's a left field option that not many people are going to have. If you're looking for someone, with Forest this week, with a decent run of games coming right up to the 29 blank, well, Villa have got the game in that. I think he's probably the standout option along with Reguilon, who's also on this list if you're looking to buy a defender kind of this week. So I'll be looking at those two. If you're kind of planning on free hitting in the blank, you could also look at Nori as well, because Wolves have got Fulham at home in a few weeks and Sheffield United this week, and he's getting full quite a lot. You could even look at Van Heck as well. He's been brilliant for us this season, and obviously Estupiñán is kind of in and out of the team. So if you're looking to free up a bit of money, he's the one to go to. The other one here is Saliba. If you've got the Arsenal double up, start playing them every week, because I know a lot of people are benching them. But I think if you've got the double, that's your kind of way of kind of getting one over on kind of everyone else. They're the only team keeping regular clean sheets. They've both got attacking potential, playing for the best defensive team in the league. And I know it can be tempting to kind of just play one and kind of hedge those bets, but if you've got two, then I think you need to be playing them kind of most weeks. Looking at midfielders, the ones I've got on this list are Saka, Palmer, Foden, and Garnacho. My other midfielder is De Bruyne, who I think is probably done as an option, at least for a bit. Apart from the 12 points he got against Newcastle, 7-5-4-2, it's been okay, but I think we all hope for a little bit more in that. 3 starts out of 5. I think if you were going to ask people at that period how many starts over the 5, I think you probably would have said 3. So I think we've got kind of what we expected from him, just not any big calls. But yeah, 30% ownership. I think now is the time to be moving on. We've got Salah potentially after the cup final, or maybe even from 30. We've got Son, Maddison, both on this list. Son looks a great option with a 29. I think KDB to De Bruyne will probably be my move next week. Or you move him down to one of the cheaper options. You look at Neto, look at Hwang. I've been mentioned on BlackBox. Very similar kind of underlying stats. Hwang with penalties, those playing up front. I think that just pushes him a little bit ahead for me. Or Odegaard if you're looking for another Arsenal midfielder as well. 114 points for him. I think we thought he wouldn't get anywhere near the 200 points that he got last season. I think he's going to be in and around 200 points again. He just is a very all or nothing player this season. I'm just looking at his points now. I mean, he's had 1, 2, 3. He's had 5 double-digit hauls this season. But the number of blanks, I mean, between game week 23 and game week 16, he had 1 attacking return, despite starting every game. So, yeah, his underlying numbers are decent, but you have to be prepared, I think, for a bit of pain. But hopefully not another run like that where he kind of fails to deliver. But I do like him as a pick. I prefer him over Trossard still. I just think if you're with the way the season's going, just make sure you're getting in nailed on players. And I love Trossard, but yeah, not guaranteed to play every minute. And then finally, kind of up front, I think there's only really 5 forwards that we should be considering at the moment. That's Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, Tony, Højlund. I've got Haaland and Watkins. My decision this week is either to go for one of these Wolves mids, but that would mean selling Palmer, who played Brentford and Newcastle coming out of the blank, which I'm starting to think maybe I don't really want to lose Palmer ahead of those two games. So the other option is to move Darwin for one of these forwards. I could get Solanke, but obviously it's City this week, but then he's got a double in 28, and that just gets me that kind of player in sorted. Or do I take a bit of a punt on Højlund at home to Fulham but know that I'm going to have to reverse that move and get Solanke in for 28. So, it's really how valuable is that transfer worth? Højlund's going to need to get 4 points more than Solanke in this week for it to be worth it, which I think he could well do given the form he's got. I mean, if Solanke blanks and Højlund was to come in with a 12, 13 pointer, even if I have to take a 4-point hit to move him back to Solanke, then obviously I've benefited from the points on that. So it's a 1 week punt, and do I go for it? I mean, the other option as well is to captain Højlund this week. I think this might be a week when we can go against the captaincy a little bit. So yeah, captaining Højlund though, if you told me that when I last did one of these back in like game week 10 or 11, I would have thought you were crazy. But that is definitely on the list. And I think if you've got Hwang this week, I think I would captain him. So if I do Palmer to Hwang, I think he will be my captain this week to really try and attack it. So after going on about captains, going on about risk and reward and all that kind of stuff, I think the best three captains this week are obviously Haaland's. He's the safe pick. Saka, he's the safe-ish pick, but obviously he won't have as high ownership as Haaland. And then you've got Hwang and Højlund, who are your kind of your risky ones. And don't forget as well, it's not just backing against Hwang and Højlund. You've also got them to outscore Haaland and Saka too. So do remember that when you're picking your captains. That's something I need to remember kind of more. What are the odds of those two players outscoring those two players I just mentioned? Maybe that kind of limits the appeal. But I just think Hwang against Sheffield United are so bad that the out of position midfielder on penalties for an informed team with Neto firing in assists, that's got to be a consideration, I think, for people. So yeah, let me know if you're thinking of bringing Hwang in and captaining him, or even if you're thinking of captaining Højlund as well. Be interesting to know what you guys are doing. Let's take some questions. Then, sorry, my hay fever is... I don't know what it is about this stream and hay fever, but I definitely seem to get it more when I'm streaming here. Eddie Casey, let me just move you up, that's fine. Hi, Az, do you think if Superman plays enough minutes, then I'd have 11? If not, should I do Palmer to He Chan? Yeah, I mean, this is my team, Eddie, for this week. I've got 10 at the moment. Obviously, I've got the free transfer as well, so I'll get 11 out. That's whether we count Estupiñán as one of those 11 players. My instinct is telling me he won't play, or at least he won't start. Is there a likelihood he gets 45 minutes and higher? Yes, probably. He's going to come on at some point. If he comes on, can he do something? Yes. I mean, his underlying stats aren't amazing, but you kind of never know with him. He's not a priority sell, I don't think. There's not a lot of options in defence that I really like the look of, and I'm sure people have got other options that they could lose. For example, if I had more money, for example, I'd get rid of Kabore, who's just guaranteed not to even play, and look to get someone like Moreno or Reguilon. If you've got 11 and you've got a free transfer and Estupiñán's one of them, then I would be tempted to do Estupiñán to Reguilon or Moreno, like I mentioned. That's the defensive move if you're planning on doing it. But again, I do think there is ways you can attack this game week a bit more. I think a lot of us are going to have Darwin, for example, or Jota. And they're players who I think are more priorities, so because you can get to Hwang, you can get to Solanke ahead of, you can get to Højlund and these players. So if you've got the two frees, or if you've got the way to do it, then sell Estupiñán. But I'm going to give him this week and just hope for a start, even though I don't think it's necessarily going to happen as well. GK says get Dalot, get Dean. Yeah, two players I don't really like, to be honest. Dalot, I mean, Shaw's out for a while now, isn't it? Martinez, I don't trust Manchester United defensively, so I don't think I'll be going there. Dean isn't even going to play because Moreno is, so yeah, not too big on those. FPL Freddie, 200k bought Salah in this week. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Let him bring him in. I mean, I was amazed at people bringing him last week, and he got 14 points. At least we haven't got that risk this week, so yeah, don't really mind too much. Eddie Casey, Arsenal poor versus Porto last night in the Champions League. Do you know what? I don't even know the scores of the Champions League. How bad is that? Let me just have a look. Did Arsenal lose then? Oh, they lost 1-0. Okay, yeah, that's surprising given how well they've been playing. They'll have to overturn that back at the Emirates as well. A few people saying Hwang potentially not on pens. Sarabia has a career penalty record of 16 out of 16. I mean, that is very impressive. I mean, Hwang took their last one, didn't he, and scored it. So I mean, I would assume he takes it if I know Sarabia wasn't on the pitch, but If he's taken it and scored it and feels confident and he's the central striker and wants them, I imagine he takes it. But yeah, I mean, Sarabia could take it. I really like, I keep calling him Sarabia. Is it Sarabia? I can't remember. Sarabia? I don't know what his name is. I'm panicking now. But I've always liked him as a player. He's always been a bit of a off the bench kind of type guy, isn't he? Whereas now he should hopefully get a run of starts. But you go for Neto, surely, unless you really need the money. I think you go for Hwang or Neto. I think. Alex says Neto and Hwang on a wild card for the next 3 fixtures. I love that. Absolutely love that. Attack those 2. Well, I mean, the 3 fixtures, Newcastle as well. The next 3 fixtures for Wolves are brilliant. Neto and Hwang on a wild card. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Davies family, would you -4 for Taylor or Diaby out? Or play both and risk minutes played? Oh, that's a tough one. Taylor was back on the bench, wasn't he? So you would think that he'd play. Who have Burnley got this week? Palace? Yeah, I'd probably risk Taylor. Diaby, does Diaby play? Probably not, but are you going to get minutes off the bench? Yes, those minutes are poor. The 9, 25, 30 for Diaby. I think I'd move Diaby on. I think the Taylor to someone there's not a huge amount of points potential there, but moving Diaby on to, I mean, even Bailey or Hwang or Neto probably is the move. So yeah, I think I probably would do that for a -4 as well. Pete, morning as you steadfast on chip strategy, being flexible with wildcard free hit. Yeah, definitely being flexible. I'm trying not to think too much about 29 because if I need to use the free hit in it, I'm not completely against it, given the double in 34 looks to be pretty rubbish. I think I'm probably leaning towards the free hit in 29. I was quite impressed with the free hit team Mark put together in BlackBox last night. Let's have a look at that as well. It just means I can avoid getting in some of the players that I might otherwise have to have in that game. So more Villa defenders, more Brentford defenders, for example. I can focus on Haaland, Watkins, and Solanke, and then not have to worry about Tony because I can just bring him in. Son, Maddison, I can have both of those. Porro, I can bring back in. So yeah, plenty of players and that I like. So yeah, I'm going to see basically after this week we're going to know what those fixtures are. So this week I'm not going to have 29 in mind with my transfer, which means it might be Højlund or Hwang. Once we know the state of 29, then I'll be able to make a decision better next week. So yeah, completely flexible at the moment. Alex Smith, Palmer to Hwang from -4 to not have to play Archer. Oh, Archer was all right in the last game, wasn't he? But I can't see him getting anything against Wolves. Oh, he's got a calf injury as well. Yeah, I mean, if Archer's out, then yeah, I'd say probably do it. As I keep saying, I really like Hwang this week. So yeah, get him if you can. BB Defender, question for you as bench one out of Chris Richards. Chris Richards, wow. Estupinan, Tavernier. It's easy to say Richards, you and Mark both predicted he gets a clean sheet last night. That is a tricky one because Estupinan probably won't play. Tavernier plays City. I think I would lean towards benching. Oh, I don't know. That's a really tough one. I'd probably play Richards. Estupinan, Tavernier then. I don't think you can bench Estupinan in case he does start. I'd probably bench Tavernier. I don't think he gets anything against City, even if he does start. And at least Estupinan might play. So yeah, I think bench Tavernier. Let's go with that. Play your Crystal Palace defender as well. I need to kind of start wrapping this up a little bit because I need to get to work in 5 minutes. So my team for 26. Martinez, Trippier, Gabriel, Estupinan, De Bruyne, Saka, Foden, Garnacho, then no one, and then Haaland, Watkins. So it's, like I keep saying, it's Palmer to Hwang or it's Darwin to Højlund or Solanke. I'm leaning towards the Darwin out move now, and I'll just be really annoyed when Hwang gets a hat-trick and I haven't captained him like I could have done. But yeah, we see how that kind of sliding doors moment goes. I'm leaning towards Darwin to Højlund, I think, which yeah is surprising. Someone put down in the chat as well, I feel Freddie Paulinho is suspended. I am expecting Manchester United to score a couple of goals in that match, and his recent form is absolutely incredible as well. It's just a shame he goes straight into that City game. The good thing though is I think my team is kind of all right then going into next week, and if I do then need to do Højlund to Solanke, and then I do it. So do I just take a 1 week punt on Højlund, or do I save that transfer and just get Solanke in? Then I could maybe even save the transfer going into 29. Transfers are precious as well, but also points are precious at this stage of the season too. So maybe it's worth going. But then Sunky could get something against City, on penalties as well. So it's not completely beyond the realm of possibility. So yeah, that's where kind of I'm at. I'll take just a couple more questions and then I need to head off. Really quite tired. I can relate to that. Ayaz, what do you think about a hit to bring in Neto for Jota if it would mean benching Alvarez? Well, Alvarez has started every game so far for City this season. I wouldn't bench him against Bournemouth. So no, I wouldn't do that. I would just play Alvarez in that match and hope he gets something. I know he's been a little bit disappointing recently, but no, I'd keep him for one more week. If you can avoid taking a hit this week, you're in a good position. And I do really like Neto, but I don't think at the cost of Alvarez as well. Salnak, hello, one of our Godfather tier members. Huang or Garnacho, who do you prefer? Huang, all day, every day. I like Garnacho. I think he's a fun player. I like his hair as well, like the kind of the grey silver fox look. He's about 19 years old. But FPL wise, the out of position player on penalties, playing for a good attacking side. Well, we think on penalties, or at least on penalties when Sarabia isn't on the pitch. I would pick Huang kind of every day over Garnacho too. It's a shame that Garnacho and Højlund don't have the penalties. Rashford as well, because we would expect Bruno Fernandes to take those. By the way, how disappointing has Bruno Fernandes been FPL wise this season? A lot of us thought 8.5 million for him would be an absolute steal. Not worked out at all. So yeah, disappointing if you've had him. I know a few people have still got him and hoping for that resurgence, but yeah, I think Garnacho, Rashford and Garnacho are all better than him. FPL Freddy says, I'm free hitting Gameweek 29, taking a punt on Højlund this week. It's at the game week, too many good players, not getting picked due to 29. Yeah, completely agree with that. The only problem with Højlund is obviously goes straight into that City game straight after as well. But if he does end up having the game in 29, because Forest knock him out of the cup, then you're going to be laughing because it's Sheffield United in that match too. Right, it's good to be back. Thank you all for watching. Sorry about the mix-up with the time. For those of you who turned up at 9:15 a.m, I appreciate it. I'm going to get to work. And yeah, I'll be back doing these more regularly. And hopefully everyone's seasons carry on doing well. Like mine kind of is. Try and claw a 100k finish, I think. If I can claw that back and not get relegated in the Elite 64 League. And beat the two apprentices in Liesel oh god, what's oh my god, I forgot. I'm only messaging him last night. Hang on, that's embarrassing. His name is going to kill me as soon as I see it. Ryan, of course. Yeah, Ryan and Liesel. Then I'll be happy this season. Unfortunately, not getting him in a mark this season, but if I can beat the two apprentices, then I'll be happy. But yeah, everyone have a good day. Enjoy Game Week 26. Good luck fielding some players this week, and we'll be back next week.